And we are live, Madam Mayor. If you want to remove yourself off of mute, please.
Very much, Madam Clerk. Good evening, everyone. I would like to call this council meeting, this special council meeting of November 16th, 2020 to order. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sandra Easton, the Mayor of the Town of Lincoln, and today I am the chair of today's special council meeting. We're meeting electronically through Zoom during this declared emergency period. Members of the public may observe the proceedings by accessing the live webcast at our YouTube channel. The Shononton people have called this land home for thousands of years, and more recently, the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee have been sharing the land as one dish, one spoon treaty territory. We would like to acknowledge the enduring resilience of the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people who call this territory home. I will ask our town clerk to complete a roll call of council so that we can confirm everyone's attendance as we are holding this meeting electronically today, and this will confirm quorum. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Mayor Easton? Present. Councillor Regima?
Here.
Councillor Russell?
Here.
Councillor Brunet?
Here.
Councillor Pachariva?
Here.
Councillor McPherson?
Here.
Councillor Miklick?
Here.
Joining by phone, thank you. Councillor Timmer sends her regrets. Councillor Reimer?
Here.
Madam Mayor, we have quorum.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. I would also like to take a moment to welcome the staff that are joining us today electronically. Our Chief Administrative Officer, Mike Kirkopoulos, Director of Planning and Development, Kathleen Dale, Director of Community Services, Shannon Mackay, Fire Chief Greg Hudson, Director of Economic Development and Communications, Paul Diani, Director of Public Works, Dave Graham, and the IT staff in attendance are, and also this evening we have Regional Councillor Foster joining us. Our clerk, Julie Kirklos, is moderating and clerking the meeting. And we also have in attendance Liliana Busnello, the town's new manager of corporate communications, and the CAO would like to provide some introductory comments. Mr. CAO.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to all of council, I do want to welcome Liliana to our team. Liliana joins us after having spent the last decade and a half almost working at a number of municipalities, most recently the city of Cambridge. She has extensive experience in a number of roles. And so I'm actually going to say very little. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Diani and Ms. Busnello, maybe to make a few comments.
Mr. Diani.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you to council. Very excited to have Ms. Bonello on the team. Comes, as the CEO just mentioned, comes to us with years of experience and started last week and really has hit the ground running. So, very happy to have her on the team, and I can now turn over to Ms. Bonello to make a couple of comments. Thank you.
Thanks. Through you, Madam Chair. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great.
I see you.
I'm great. Thank you very much for the warm welcome from our CAO Mike and Paul. I'm really thrilled to be here. I really enjoy working in municipal government, and I really I hope to bring my my extensive experience to the town of Lincoln. It's a beautiful community. I'm just thrilled to be a part of it. Just the last week, everyone has been very welcoming. It's been I've had the opportunity to meet many of the councillors, and I know that I will meet the rest of you throughout the week. So I look forward to working with everyone and to reaching out and engaging with the community through my role at the town. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liliana, and welcome. We all welcome you. And you certainly did jump in with both feet last Friday. It didn't take long for some pretty important work to come your way. Thanks very much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Councillors, as this is a virtual meeting and as we do at every meeting, for the benefit of the public, and yourselves, we'll just review the procedures. Should there be a connection or a service disruption for the chair or a quorum is lost, the chair and or clerk will call a 10-minute recess to reconnect to regain quorum. And if quorum is lost, the meeting will be adjourned. If connection is lost from the chair, deputy mayor, or the vice chair will resume the meeting. Once reconnection is achieved, the chair will assume their role. Each member of council who wishes to speak, please press the raise hand feature on your video and the clerk will track our speakers list today and then invite you to speak when I open it for comments or questions. When I finish reading a motion and announcing the mover and seconder, the clerk will then call out the vote by reading each member of council's name out loud. Please remember to take yourselves off mute during this portion of the meeting so that you can confirm if you are in support or opposed. Now, item number 4, I have an amendment, councillors, to the agenda and would like to add an introduction of notice of motion regarding public health measures, Ontario COVID-19 response framework to be considered immediately. This, we will require a 2/3 vote to add this new item to the agenda under notice of motion as item 13.1. And I may speak to this motion myself, and if I do that, I will be asking Deputy Mayor Mike Mikulik to assume the chair. I will now ask our clerk to call out the vote. Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I get a mover, please, for that?
Oh, I'm sorry. If there is no councillor who wishes to move it, I will. It was quite short notice, so I don't expect people to step up until they've had some discussion, but I will move the motion.
And I need a seconder for that, Madam Mayor.
I hope there will be
And I
one.
see Councillor McPherson.
I'll second it to get it on the table.
That's great. Thank you very much, Councillor.
Thank you, and I'll call the vote. Councillor Brunet,
Yes.
Councillor McPherson,
Yes.
Councillor Mikulik.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Pachariva,
Yes.
Councillor Reimer,
Yes.
Councillor Rajima,
Yes.
Councillor Russell,
Yes.
and Councillor Timmers is marked absent. Madam Mayor?
Thank you.
Thank you, and that carries. That will be added as 13.1 when we get to that agenda item.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, councillors. Now, are there any other amendments from any other members? All right, thank you. Just one moment, I have to check something. Great deal of papers, many papers. I just want to get this into the correct order. All right, thank you very much. Madam Mayor, we have no presentations this evening.
Madam Mayor, we are at declarations of interest.
Oh, I'm sorry, just one moment. Moving those papers has caused me a little bit of confusion. So we're at item number 7 then.
Item number 5, Madam Mayor.
All right, declarations of interest. Okay, I am on track again. Are there any declarations of interest?
Councillor Rajima?
Councillor Njima, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a reiteration of an interest that I declared at the November 9th Committee of the Whole, and it's under item 11.3, agenda item 11.3, regarding the report PD 2720, as the applicant under that report is represented by my employer.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, and now we are considering announcements by members. Are there any announcements?
Madam Mayor, we have Councillor Russell up first.
Councillor Russell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is just a public notification that myself and Councilor Gemma will be handling the first ward meeting under the new lockdown virtually. So we've had some discussions with Mr. Deani and Ms. Busnello today to work on a framework and along with our IT department to make sure that we can provide this in a safe environment. So the ward meeting will take place this Thursday from 7 till 9 p.m. It will be virtual over Zoom, so we're just working out all the details. They will be coming out online probably sometime tomorrow. So I know myself and Councillor Gemma are very excited about that, to get engaged with our residents again, and we look forward to seeing anybody on Thursday night.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much, Councillor. The first virtual ward meeting, and no doubt you'll have a good deal of interest shown. Any other members?
We have Councillor McPherson up next.
Go ahead, Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And just to advise that the Downtown Bench Beansville BIA annual general meeting will be held this Thursday, November 19th at noon. It is also, of course, a virtual meeting. Council is invited to attend, and you will require pre-registration. If you should have received a notice in your mailbox, as well as an invitation through email. So it is obviously for the BIA members, the owners, the employers, and the landlords, and it will cover many of the activities of 2020, as well as the 2021 budget approval. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I don't see anyone else on the list, so we'll move on to item 7, which is the motion to approve council minutes, the special council minutes of October 26, 2020. Madam Clerk, would you please execute that?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, did anybody have any questions in regards to the special council minutes?
I don't have it on the table yet. I don't have the mover and seconder. That page is missing in my text.
Oh, okay. So we're considering item 7.1, special council minutes of October 26th, 2020. And I have a motion, Madam Mayor, unless anybody has any questions or comments in regards to those minutes.
I don't see anything. I don't see anyone on the list.
Thank you. I'll call the motion moved by Councillor Brunet, and Councillor Timmer sends her regrets. May I get a seconder, please, for this? And Councillor Pachariva, I see your hand. Thank you. And I'll call the vote. Councillor Brunet?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor McPherson?
Yes.
Councillor Miklick?
Yes.
Councillor Pachariva?
Yes.
Councillor Reimer?
Yes.
Councillor Rajima?
Yes.
Councillor Russell?
Yes.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
And Councillor Timmer's marked absent. That carries. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. We have no presentations this evening, and we have no registered delegations for tonight, although I would note that we certainly can accommodate public attendance at special council meetings, possibly later on in the year, but not at the moment. Item number 10 is the motion to receive and file council information package. And we're now considering 3 items, 10.1, 10.2, and 10.3. We'll have a look at item 10.1. Councillors, it's helpful if you can identify the item by number. it just helps us keep on track. So we'll deal with the first week of October 19th to October 23rd. There are 3 items. Is there anything that anyone would like to discuss? All right, I don't see anyone. We'll move on then to item 10.2. And this is, one moment. 10.2 is the week of October 26th to October the 30th. There are 5 items. Is there anything that anyone wishes to lift?
I have
Madam Clerk?
Councillor McPherson's hand up first.
All right, Councillor.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'm looking at item number 5, which is the Norfolk County illicit cannabis operations document. And I think it spoke to many of the challenges that most municipalities that have cannabis operations in their municipalities face. And I think, there was a fairly strong request at the end that solutions to the current crisis may include, but are not limited to, better regulation and tracking of prescription cannabis in Canada, increased regulatory enforcement presence by Health Canada, increased police resources, increased funding to municipalities to deal with complaints and bylaw issues generated by illicit cannabis grow operations. We certainly know that there has been those type of operations here in Lincoln, and I would recommend or motion that we support this motion that came out of Norfolk County.
All right, thank you very much, Councillor McPherson. Madam Clerk, you'll take that advisement. I'll be happy to sign it.
Yes, can I call a vote on that, Councillor
Yes.
McPherson? So you can move it. If we can just get a seconder to endorse that, and then I can send that out. And I see Councillor Rajima, your hand is up. And I'll just call the vote in order to send out this endorsement of support for this particular motion. Councillor Brunet,
Yes.
Councillor McPherson,
Yes.
Councillor Miklick,
Yes.
Councillor Pachariva,
Yes.
Councillor Reimer,
Yes.
Councillor Rajima,
Yes.
Councillor Russell,
Yes.
Madam Mayor,
Support.
and Councillor Timmers is marked absent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on then to the next week of November the 2nd to the 6th. There are 8 items. Are there any? My apologies. Councillor Pachariva, was your name up for the previous week?
No, it was, Your Worship, but Councillor McPherson touched on it, so I wanted to make sure I got in on this one.
Okay,
I was
very
pretty
good.
quick with the hand.
You were very quick, so go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, Your Worship, through you. I would think we should be supporting motion 2 and 3, which talk about funding for community groups that have been affected by the pandemic. Number 4, we should take a look at Enbridge Gas, their application to raise natural gas rates. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We're coming into a second wave. I don't think that's the right time to be raising natural gas rates, considering people are going to be, asked to sequester in their home. It's going to be cold, much like the province did with the MPAC increases. They should be holding the line. And then also number 7, with respect to the cannabis retail operations, and I had highlighted the word because I had looked it up. Was it radial? The type of clustering of cannabis stores. So looking at that, so limiting the number within a certain radius. So I thought that was a bit of all right, because you don't want them. You don't want a concentration of these.
So, Councillor, are you also suggesting that that this be referred to staff in the event that this could have been, may not be included in our own policy.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Your Worship. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
That is a staff direction which we can take back. Counselor, are you looking to, can you just tell me what page that City of Hamilton is on?
Yeah, I was trying to find it.
Is it on page 97 of the agenda?
I should have tagged it with yes.
Okay, and you're
Radio separation was the phrase used.
and you're looking for council to endorse this motion?
I am, along with 2 and 3, and then writing a letter to Enbridge saying it's not time to raise gas rates.
Okay, so if we deal with the
One
City
at
of
a time?
Hamilton
Sure.
first, if you don't
Yep.
mind?
Yep, you got it.
Okay, and so you are going to move that?
Mhm.
Okay, and can I get a seconder? Councillor Russell? And I'll call the vote. Councillor Brunet,
Yes.
Councillor McPherson,
Yes.
Councillor Miklick,
Yes.
Councillor Pachariva,
Yes.
Councillor Reimer,
Yes.
Councillor Rajima,
Yes.
Councillor Russell,
Yes.
Madam Mayor,
Support.
Councillor Timmers is marked absent. So we will send out endorsement for the City of Hamilton motion. And if we could just deal with the next one, Councillor, which one was that? Number 2 that you wanted to deal with next?
Okay, I've unmuted myself. So 2 and 3 deal with funding for community groups and service clubs that are affected by the pandemic. So the town of Plimpton, Wyoming, and then also Loyalist Township.
Okay,
So as many sectors of the economy are looking for help given COVID-19, I think it behooves us to support our community groups in their ask, and this is coming from a couple of municipalities. So I think it's a good thing to be doing.
Are you
okay,
suggesting, Councillor, that we refer this to budget?
No, this is just simply endorsing their motions to the Prime Minister and the Premier. Can we assume a vital and supported ground? Share community partner with the music. Yeah, reducing the financial pressures on government. So actually, they help us in delivering programs, right? These service clubs, the money that they raise. So just looking that that they can be considered as a group to receive some funding or some
Yes.
relief.
I understand.
Yeah.
so for the item number 2, the town of Plimpton, Wyoming, you would like to move that, Councillor?
Yes, I would.
Okay, can I get a seconder, please? Councillor McPherson? And this is to endorse that notice, which we will circulate, and I'll call the vote. Councillor Brunet?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor McPherson?
Yes.
Councillor Miklick?
Yes.
Councillor Pachariva?
Yes.
Councillor Reimer?
Yes.
Councillor Rajima?
Yes.
Councillor Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Easton?
Support.
And that carries. And item number 3, we need to do separately. Sorry, everybody, but this is, we need to get that sorted out so I can send out the correspondence. So Councillor Pachariva, you are moving that as well. Can I get another seconder, please? And Councillor Rajima. And this is to support Loyalist Township funding for community groups, service clubs affected by the pandemic. And I'll call the vote again. Councillor Brunet,
Yes.
Councillor McPherson,
Yes.
Councillor Miklick,
Yes.
Councillor Pachariva,
Yes.
Councillor Reimer,
Yes.
Councillor Rajima,
Yes.
Councillor Russell,
Yes.
Madam Mayor,
Support.
and Councillor Timmers is marked absent, and that carries. And Councillor, you brought up Enbridge Gas.
So this is a notice to the Ontario Energy Board from Enbridge Gas about asking for an increase. So whether we write a letter with the file number to the OEB saying that we don't think it's, at least personally, I don't think it's the right thing to be doing in the midst of a pandemic. You know, we had the earlier the province had the freeze on hydro rates, and if we're coming into or in the midst of a second wave and asking, you know, people to you know, stay at home and stay within their own family bubbles, and you know, winter's coming and you're going to be using natural gas to either cook or heat with, I just think it sends the wrong message.
Madam Clerk, I'm going to ask Mr. CEO if he can lend some light on this. It may be, this application may be 1 or 2 years down the road in terms of implementation. Mike, could you provide us with some insight?
And Mr. CAO, it's on page 40 of the agenda for you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to members of council, just having read through the Ontario Energy Board application, it does show a commencement date of January 1st, 2021 for a number of these requests and the associated projects that this involves supporting. So if council would indulge us, maybe we come back to the next potential meeting with this. Councillor Pachariva, I want to better understand which projects this goes to support versus kind of a across the board rate application. So if that's acceptable to you, Councillor.
Yeah, works for me.
We can come back and be prepared for the next council meeting.
Thank you, Mr. CEO.
That would be helpful. We have benefited from certain projects, Councillor, as have our businesses. So that additional information would help, I think. I see Councillor Rajima, Madam Clerk.
Yes, Councillor Pachariva, you still have your hand up. Are you good? You're good. Okay. Councillor Rajima.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Madam Clerk. So my question is about item number 1 in the same correspondence package, and it's from the City of Belleville, the very first item, and it's regarding the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. And this request is for the province to support municipalities in their efforts to get to become compliant under WSEG 2 level AA by January 1st, 2021. So these are technical requirements, I believe, related to a website, meeting, or any other electronic platforms that the municipality is responsible for to bring them up to date and bring them in compliance with the OADA. So I'm wondering if this is something that we should be supporting if we feel that we're already ready to meet these requirements, or if it's some work that has to get done and if we need assistance, and if so, whether we should be supporting this.
Okay, I'm going to refer this, Madam Clerk, Councillor Rajima, over to CEO Kirkopoulos for some comment.
Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, you know, I think this is one of those requests that we can definitely support. I don't believe there's anything within this that would in any way, I think, prohibit or limit what the town is trying to do or any other municipality in terms of seeking support for the necessary compliance. So I believe it's probably an opportune one for us to support.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, we require a vote.
We do. Thank you. So Councillor Rajima, I'll have you as the mover. If I could just get a seconder, please. Councillor Pachariva, thank you. And I'll call the vote. Councillor Brunet,
Yes.
Councillor McPherson, Councillor McPherson,
I think you must be on mute, Councillor.
I'll come back to Councillor McPherson. Councillor Miklick,
Yes.
Councillor Pachariva,
Yes.
Councillor Reimer,
Yes.
Councillor Rajima,
Yes.
Councillor Russell,
Yes.
Madam Mayor,
Support.
and Councillor McPherson. He's having some technical issues. We can reconfirm his vote after the meeting. That's fine. We can move on. It does carry, Councillor Rajima, so I just wanted you to know that.
All right. I have a motion moved by Councillor McPherson. I'm looking for another mover now. Councillor Rajima, do you move the motion? Yes, Madam Clerk. Moved by Councillor
Rajima
Rajima.
can move the motion. We just need a seconder now, and I saw Councillor Russell, your hand was up. That's great. Thank you. And
All right. To receive and file the following council information packages, council information package October 23rd, 2020, October the 30th, 2020, November 6th, 2020. Madam Clerk, would you please call the vote?
thank you. Councillor Brunet.
Yes.
I'll come back to Councillor McPherson. Councillor Miklick,
Yes.
Councillor Pachariva,
Yes.
Councillor Reimer,
Yes.
Councillor Rajima,
Yes.
Councillor Russell.
Yes.
Councillor Timmers is marked absent. Councillor McPherson, can you hear us? Okay.
Yes, I can now.
And is that a yes to move the council information packages?
Yes.
Thank you. And Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. And that carries. And Councillor McPherson, just to make sure you're on record, we moved item 1 of the package for October 30th. Can I get your vote on that item?
Yes.
Thank you very much. And we are completed.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome.
We're at item number 11, councillors, and we're considering 11.1, the Committee of the Whole Workshop Minutes of October 28th. Also the Committee of the Whole Budget Minutes of November 4th, and 11.3 Committee of the Whole Minutes of November 9th, 2020. Do members have any comments? We'll deal with them each by each. We'll start with Committee of the Whole Minutes of October 28th.
We have Councillor McPherson's hand up.
Go ahead, Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And this was the workshop with the water wastewater, and the workshop generated much discussion on really the path forward and what our water and wastewater rates are going to look like. And I think, and when you look at the minutes, several questions coming out of that workshop, very productive workshop. So the question I would have is, where do we go from here? Should we anticipate a follow-up report of some kind addressing the questions that were raised, or what is the plan? Through you, Madam Mayor, to probably the CAO.
Yes, thank you very much, Council. I was just looking at the final motion to receive and file, but Mr. Kirkopoulos, what can we expect?
Through you, Madam Mayor, actually staff had a meeting earlier today with our consultant and our internal staff team. So maybe 2 updates. As Council knows, we'll be back before you on December 2nd, talking about the 2021 water rates. as part of our budget process. But Councillor McPherson is correct. We will be back before you talking about our water and wastewater rate study and the, I think, potential options for council consideration as we move forward. And the options will be an amalgam of a number of things, both to support our growth-related projects and our non-growth-related projects, as well as our rate deficit projections and some of the other things that were highlighted. So staff will be before you via a report, hopefully in the coming month or month and a half. But you will be seeing us definitely talk about our 2021 utility rates in the near future. But we will be closing the loop on this particular conversation. I did send council an email early at the beginning of the month on November 3rd that really spoke to what we heard and to some of the next steps. And my goal is, again, to turn that into a report for council. Our goal at that initial workshop was really to hear from council some of your questions, some of your concerns, and those came through loud and clear.
Councillor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I look forward to that report coming in the next 60 days or so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else have any questions to the minutes, Committee of the Whole workshop minutes of October 28th? There being none, we'll move on to the Committee of the Whole budget minutes of November 4th, 2020. Any questions? There being none, we'll move on to Committee of the Whole minutes of November the 9th. Any comments? There being none, I have a motion. I have a motion moved by Councillor Mikulik and seconded by Councillor Reimer. Approve the following recommendations from Standing Committee, Committee of the Whole workshop minutes of October 28th, 2020, Committee of the Whole budget minutes of November 4th, 2020, and Committee of the Whole minutes of November 9th, 2020. I'll now ask the clerk to call out the vote.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Brunet,
Yes.
Councillor McPherson,
Yes.
Councillor Mikulik,
Yes.
Councillor Pachariva,
Yes.
Councillor Reimer,
Yes.
Councillor Rajima,
Yes.
Councillor Russell,
Yes.
and Councillor Timmers is marked absent. Madam Mayor,
Yes.
and that carries. Thank you.
All right, Councillor, the next item on the agenda is the reports of municipal officers. We have Regional Councillor Rob Foster with us this evening, and we have overlapping reports as will become quite obvious. Ladies and gentlemen, I speak to you this evening, my fellow citizens, and I want to thank you for joining this council meeting of November 16th, 2020. It's a very difficult situation that we find ourselves in all over this province and all over the world. And I speak to you today not just as your mayor, but also as a daughter, a very concerned grandmother, a wife, a mother, and a resident of Lincoln and Niagara. These past few weeks, we have seen the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic hit our province and our region with numbers trending in the wrong direction. And my heart aches thinking about any family that has lost a loved one, any family who has a person who is ill from COVID-19. And I know I speak on behalf of all of my council colleagues when I say our thoughts and prayers are with you. In the spring during the first wave, the message was stay home. Stay safe and be kind and considerate to your fellow citizens. This message still rings through just as it did 7 to 8 months ago. Thankfully, we do know more about this virus and how to treat it. And today, just like every day, we thank our essential workers for what they are doing to keep our community safe. I first want to acknowledge our farm workers and the loss of one of our valuable farm workers just in this past week as he was carrying out his work. And to his family and his 3 boys, we send our deepest sympathies. We acknowledge doctors and nurses and other allied health professionals who are working tirelessly in our hospitals, to grocery store clerks that just do nothing but keep those stores of the store shelves stocked. And we recognize the first responders so that we can get the help we need when we so desperately need it. These are very mundane but very important conveniences. And that's why now more than ever, we must heed the advice of our public health experts and remember to wash our hands with soap and water, to wear a mask when you go out, and maintain physical distancing where possible. I'm not asking you to do this for the convenience of asking you. I'm asking you to put aside your personal views about your personal rights. I'm asking you to put a mask on and look at your neighbors in the eye. I'm asking you to feel compassion for them and understand that what you are doing is respecting them in that moment. By doing this, we can all do our part to minimize the spread of COVID-19, which will allow our businesses to stay open. Imagine what's going to happen here very soon, my friends, is that we will not have a bar to go to. We will not have the pleasure of going out to a restaurant. We will not have many Main Street stores, because our actions are going to determine whether or not there is another shutdown, another lockdown, and our economy, provincially as well as locally and regionally, will not tolerate it. And so our friends and family, they must go to work, and our economy operates as best as it can, and we need to protect everyone. Back in the spring, when our businesses were shut down and everyone was told to stay home, the last thing we need now is a secondary shutdown, as I fear our local, regional, and provincial economy will not be able to survive it. We all have a choice to make, adhering to public health guidelines to minimize the spread that will allow our local businesses to stay open. I think we are all well aware of all the pockets of trouble, even in our own community, that we've heard about just in the last few days. Recently, and we're going to talk about this more, there have been decisions made by the province and Niagara Public Health that saw Niagara move into the orange restrict level, as per the Ontario COVID-19 response framework that came out around the 9th of November. And while I'm supportive of public health measures to keep our community safe, I recognize that there are members of our business community that are calling for greater transparency in how these decisions were made. And I'm specifically speaking to the restaurant sector. They require data, and the data that is being used to support the decisions that are being made. And I, along with many of my mayor colleagues and regional councillors, echo those calls. And we will be working with our colleagues to help bring greater transparency to the decisions made by the province and Niagara Region Public Health. We must strike a balanced approach to combating COVID-19 while ensuring our local economy remains open, with appropriate restrictions put in place to protect our community and especially our most vulnerable citizens. In conclusion, please stay safe. Remember to follow the public health guidelines that are being asked of us. Only then can we minimize the spread to avoid a second shutdown. Please remember to check in on your friends, your neighbors, and your loved ones. We have all learned to connect virtually during these difficult months, and I encourage you to continue to use technology to stay in touch. Lastly, I encourage all residents of Lincoln and Niagara to shop local. Support your local Main Street retailers and your local restaurants. Our restaurants are safe. The restaurateurs, the wineries that serve food have all followed the rules, and it is quite safe to go into each of them. The local bakeries, local clothing stores, the hardware stores that are in both Beamsville and Vineland, all of the shops, all of the services, they need your support. There is no reason for you to turn your backs on them and go into other areas. And particularly, you should avoid shopping out of the country and online. And I say that with all sincerity. Look to shoplincoln.ca and it will send you in the right direction. We live in Lincoln, where we all attempt to be good neighbors, where our children are encouraged to strive and to achieve the very best. Thank you and God bless. Madam Clerk, we can make some comments a little bit later. I'm going to be moving on. I have a motion moved by Councillor Pachariva and seconded by Councillor Brunei to receive and file as information the Mayor's report on November 16th, 2020. Madam Clerk, if you would call the vote.
Thank you. Councillor Brunei,
Yes.
Councillor McPherson,
Yes.
Councillor Miklick,
Yes.
Councillor Pachariva,
Yes.
Councillor Reimer,
Yes.
Councillor Rajima,
Yes.
Councillor Russell,
Yes.
and Councillor Timmers is marked absent, Madam Mayor,
Yes, support.
and that carries.
Thank you very much. We're now considering item 12.2, Regional Council update, and following Councillor Foster's report, we're going to spend a bit of time so that councillors can ask questions of the councillor, but also address the issue of these most recent announcements. Councillor Foster.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Easton. So it seems like there's an awful lot of things that are bubbling to the surface right now across Niagara region and provincially. So I want to talk to you guys a bit about a few things, and I'm really pleased that Mayor Easton is bringing forward this other motion. Both Mayor Easton and I need to get some input from this council as we're moving forward, because there's a lot of issues that are coming into play, and we want to make sure that you know, we've heard your views as well as those of the community on these particular issues. So so I'm looking forward to your discussion on that motion, and with your due diligence, I'll be there to answer any questions or if there's any comments that are appropriate. So a couple of things. Yeah, I'll start with the COVID-19 scenario, and both Mayor Easton and myself have taken the approach at Niagara region that safety is first. We have both been consistently doing that on the public health side of things. What I will say is that this latest change that came through caught most of us a bit by surprise, and so particularly around how restaurants are being handled, and I don't know if you guys are getting it. I suspect you are. But I can tell you is that my inbox is now plugged again with commentary that's coming back in from the community right across Niagara. So, and there's been other media that have been reporting on this, some of the comments from mayors in and across Niagara. So anyway, that particular issue, there'll be some other discussions. On this Thursday, oh, by the way, the other thing that we should mention before we get into that is that Chair Bradley has called a special council meeting at Niagara Region for Wednesday. So that's going to be Wednesday afternoon, starting at 4:30 on this issue. So, and that's just recent news. We just got that information about an hour and a half ago. Concerning the West Lincoln Memorial Hospital, something that's important to all of us. So again, Mayor Easton and myself have been quite actively involved with this file at Niagara Region. We passed through the Corporate Services Committee, the quote unquote fairness and formula motion. That went through unanimously at Corporate Services. We are looking forward to that going to council on Thursday night. There's a number of things that are going to be considered after that. It is our intention to make sure that the West Lincoln Memorial Hospital ask that has gone on becomes part of the budget process as we're going into 2021. So that will be part of what it is that we're working on Thursday night. And we were a little concerned, by the way, with the COVID situation that might overwhelm that meeting. But since there's a special council meeting being called, this hopefully will be a little bit better for us. And speaking of budget, I was interested in the commentary from you guys on council concerning your budget as I was reviewing your minutes as you're getting into this as well. I'm really pleased to see that you're doing the CN Watson and working with them on understanding water and wastewater rates again. It's been important over the years that we have them sort of give us a reality check on things. Niagara region itself is doing a sequence of increases over the course of the next few years. A part of this is unfortunately because there was again a long string of 0% increases that were going on water and wastewater rates. And so so the problem is that we're behind on particularly on capital improvements and a variety of things like that. So anyway, and I know that's all being mixed into the equation. That's part of what your financial staff as well as Mr. Kirkopoulos are looking at as you're going through these things. One thing that I didn't put on my list, and I assume a number of you are quite interested in, I'm sure Councillor McPherson is, there's been some significant, my mouth isn't working now, sorry guys. There's been some significant changes have gone on to for conservation authorities. There's a provincial change that has come into play. It's referred to as Schedule 6 within the provincial budget. It results in a number of significant changes coming down the road for conservation authorities within Ontario. Suffice it to say, this has caused grief or consternation at every conservation authority across Ontario. And it's no different with ours. I received some information late today that I'm passing on to Mr. Kirkopoulos as well as Mayor Easton on the position of the NPCA. My expectation is that your representative, Mr. Kaywall, will be coming in at some point in time to talk to you guys about some sort of a motion that the town may or may not support concerning conservation authorities. And so anyway, lots of stuff going on there. The chair, Brenda Johnson from Hamilton, and our deputy chair, Bruce McKenzie out of Grimsby are very actively involved with meetings with provincial members, both the members of parliament as well as, or members of provincial parliament, sorry, as well as senior staff down at the province. So as I said, more information is going to be coming along in that area. So just a final comment, and Mayor Easton mentioned your frontline responders. Mayor Easton, Councillor McPherson and I were able to attend the Remembrance Day ceremony as speakers. And I was very, very proud to see the fire department down there. I want to thank Chief Hudson. It was great seeing them. It was very appropriate. And as always, your group is doing a great job. So, and with that, I'm going to turn it back to you, Mayor Easton, if there's any questions, and then you guys can move on with the other stuff. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, I'll ask if anyone has any questions or comments. Let's ask questions, focus the questions and comments on the report that Councillor Foster sent to us, the one he circulated.
Madam Mayor, we have Councillor Russell up first.
Okay, Councillor Russell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Regional Councillor Foster. Thank you for the report, Rob. I have two questions. The first being your first point about budget 2021, and you said you had the first pass or maybe the first pass is coming up this Thursday for operations. Is that correct?
Yes, through you, Mayor Easton. Yes, the first pass is coming up. We're doing our education session very much like what you guys went through with on your first minutes that you had this evening. So we're going to be going through and getting a first understanding of the operational side of things. So it's our educational component. Our next major budget meeting is November the 26th. And within that, we had delayed the capital budget from our earlier meeting that we had. So we delayed any approvals of capital budget to that meeting. So that's going to be the first item of business within that. And then we're going to be starting into the operations side of things.
Okay, thank you, Regional Councillor Foster. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't sure if that was this past Thursday or the coming Thursday. So if it's coming, then I don't have any further questions about that. I'll wait for your further future report. The second one just goes back to your point about the Conservation Authority. Has the region come forward with a stand yet on what their interpretation is on that bill or the impacts on the Conservation Authority?
No, the region has not brought out anything at this particular point in time. Again, it's relatively net new that's going on. We're waiting for a report coming back from the Conservation Authority, the NPCA first. And then my expectation is there's going to be extra discussion that's going on at the regional level. So, and by the way, my expectation as well is that it's going to be coming to your council for additional review as well.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Russell, I could add to that in reading the amendments that came forward, I believe that it ties in with the conversation we had with Mr. Kaywall a few weeks ago, and that there may be an opportunity not just for the municipality to support the work that the Conservation Authority deems to be important to their core business, but also an opportunity for us to develop even potentially a memorandum of understanding so that our priorities also will receive due attention. And I think that's something that we should learn more. We should learn more about the amendments and potentially request through the CAO that we have a closer relationship with them. I believe that this is part of the intention of the province.
Okay. Thank you, Madam.
To create more of an independent relationship. Mr. Kokopoulos, could I put you on the spot for a moment?
Through you, Madam Mayor, absolutely you can. Staff can definitely bring back, I think, a little bit of information as it pertains to the changes to the Conservation Act. A number of them are going to change composition, as I think has been highlighted. And in some cases, I think if looking at the position of the conservation authorities, look to regulate development or change development from a municipal planning process. And Ms. Dale can definitely chime in on that piece. There are elements of the legislation that also speaks to greater transparency and accountability within the changes that are being proposed, as well as watershed protection elements. So staff can definitely come back again for the next meeting and I think share a little bit of what staff interpret to be some of the amendments that are within the legislation that's being proposed and moving forward.
Okay, look forward to that report. Thank you.
I can add, if I can add to what Mr. Kokopoulos was stating as well. What we have found or what we are seeing with this is we had this major report came into the NPCA from the Auditor General talking about a wide variety of things that a conservation authority must do or should do or needs to change, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? And the problem is that an awful lot of these changes that have been done at the provincial level fly directly against what the AG's report had come back to us about. So it adds in a few little pieces of nuance that we're trying to get figured out as well. So and again, that's going to end up floating back to to Niagara Region, Councillor Russell. So.
Is that satisfactory, Councillor Russell?
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Good. Madam Clerk, who is next?
We have Councillor Brunei next.
Councillor Brunei?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Regional Councillor Foster. Rob, I just wanted to make a comment with regards to the work that you and your corporate services team committee are doing with regards to the West Lincoln Hospital. So obviously this is very important, should be important for all our residents. And I really appreciate the work that you guys have done, starting way back in September. And then recently at your November the 9th meeting, the report that came, through the Boulevard Strategy Group and Aaron's report, really, really, really proud of that report. I think if our residents could see that, to see that what's being done behind the scenes, it's really, really important, not only for this West Lincoln Memorial Hospital, but for all hospitals that we built in future. Just to read from the report, just to speak to some of the great work that's coming out of that. Fairness and equity across the 12 local municipalities in Niagara. Financial certainty and predictability for annual and long-term capital and operating budgets at the region of Niagara. Demonstrated benefit for all Niagara residents. Alignment with regional goals and priorities, and regional contribution as part of a community-wide effort. This is great stuff, Chair Foster, and to think that that we started off thinking that maybe our ask was going to land on 5 to 7 million, and there's an opportunity to be getting 18% at 10.8 million. This is really, really great news, and I wish you the best of luck in those future meetings. I just want to thank you.
Through to you, Mayor Easton, to Councillor Brunei. So, I'm very happy that we've got to the stage where we have with this. By the way, I'm pushing for higher values. I think there's strong justification to be pushing even further than what you've mentioned. But I will say it's councillors such as you and others, and Mayor Easton, and all of you within council, and I mean over the last number of years, we've been pushing this like crazy, and this is so important for us to be going to this next step. And something like the reality that we have found out is that the monies given to the St. Catharines Hospital was quote unquote somewhat random when it went into play. So I'm looking at this as a situation where, if nothing else, if this is the last time I'm ever elected to anything, at least this is going to be a solid foundation for the next 50 years on how hospitals are going to be handled in our area. And I think it's going to be critically important. So anyway, thank you for your comments.
And through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Foster, if you can bring home 14 million, we'll set up a virtual parade for corporate services.
That sounds like fun. All right, and you'll continue, and you'll come wearing your beard, which will be quite a bit longer by then. We'll be ready. Madam Clerk, who is next, please?
We have Councillor McPherson up next. We do not.
Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you to Councillor Foster, and bringing more accolades to the region. Just wanted to make comment that in the early days of the new garbage collection, 5 stars. I think any underperforming in the early days would have been disastrous. As you know, Rob, we had our challenges in the last days of the previous contract, and I was receiving phone calls on a pretty regular basis, as I'm sure you were. And to see those shiny new trucks out and collecting garbage, and I will say at my place, we better get the garbage out by 7:30 in the morning or we might miss it. So send our thanks back to the region and all those involved. Keep up the good work. And, I think that what we've seen over the last month or so is from what I am hearing, again, taking that issue off the table. So nice work.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and I appreciate that, Councillor McPherson. Yes, there's been a few hiccups for sure, and that seems to have ironed itself out as well. I have to admit the east end of town has always been the one that I have been most worried about, and I have my spies all over your end of town, Paul and Mike. They're always sending me notes when the garbage has actually been picked up, or when the various pieces have gone off, and they're ecstatic as well. So anyway, maybe we'll put that in the plus column. So anyway, thank you, Councillor McPherson.
All right, we now have Councillor Mikulik.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Regional Councillor Foster. Thank you for coming tonight. It's actually perfect timing. Just with regards, and this is some questions or some commentary with regards to the medical orders that were received throughout the weekend. When you do have your meeting, would it be possible to get clarification on some certain terms with regards to household? The reason I ask is that today I was scheduled to have lunch with a fella, and this is a person that's within my social bubble, yet we weren't able to go out to have lunch. And I'd just like some clarification, from the acting medical officers, as far as where are we with the bubble aspect? Are we allowed to, right now, the way I see it, I'm allowed to go to this person's home, have dinner at their home, but I'm not allowed to go to a restaurant because we do not live at the same address. So that's one point. And then the other point is, with regards to my, let's say my daughter has a boyfriend that, they're with each other all the time, yet are they able to go to a restaurant, the two of them? Are they a social bubble? Where, I'd like some clarification or some reaffirmation as far as what the bubble, the social bubble, what it entails. And these are some comments that I would have for you to perhaps bring forward to our acting medical officer of health.
Councillor, if you will allow me, and Councillor Foster, Deputy Mayor Mikulik, these are two questions that I have heard asked over and over again since Friday. And so I think your concern is definitely shared. And with your permission, if we could move forward to the next item. There are no other asking questions, but if we could move on to item number 13, then we can put the motion on the table and we can have this discussion. And Madam Clerk, I'm going to ask you to set this up because we did put this on quite late, so I don't want it to be difficult for anybody. If you would provide us with some guidance, and then Councillor Mikulik, I'll speak to the motion, and then I'll ask the clerk to have you speak next, repeat your question next, and we can begin this discussion.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
If I may, I have one more further question to ask of the councillor.
Yes, go ahead.
And with all due respect, it may be a little bit, it wasn't on a report. However, I consider it an important question to ask. And that is, with regards to possible filling of positions at the region, right now we have an acting medical officer of health since January of 2018. We have an acting CAO since December of 2018. And we have recently an acting commissioner of planning and development services. I'm just curious from a regional councillor perspective, any thoughts as to how long is an appropriate time to be considered acting?
Boy, actually, it almost sounds like you and I talked and you set this question up for you, Mike. So I appreciate that. So as of this Thursday night, part of the regional council meeting, we are starting into the process of CAO recruitment. And by the way, this was hastened with the leaving of the commissioner of planning. And the reason is that council fully believes that we need to have a new CAO in place, or put it this way, a confirmed frontline CAO, because it's very important that senior staff get put together as a team by your CAO. I mean, you know, it's no less what you expected out of Mr. Kakopoulos when he came in as your CAO to put together that strong team that you have there. That's all for you staff. That's you're all strong team. So anyway, the thing is that we're doing at the same time, we're also starting the process for the commissioner of planning. My expectation is that's going to come in shortly thereafter. With regards to the Ministry of Health, or for the medical officer of health, that is a position not filled by Niagara Region. That's a position filled by the province. The acting medical officer of health does not technically report to us. He reports to the province. So it's one of those strange nuanced situations where we have a public health board that goes and he's involved with that, but he has a direct connection into the province. So, and I'm not sure when the province is going to go and do that. The other position that we're looking to fill in the next little while is the economic development officer at Niagara Region, and that has been going through interviewing and the entire phases of things. So I'm just not sure what's at yet. So, but anyway, thank you for that question.
Well, I appreciate your answer. I'm just a local councillor. I'm not town councillor. So as far as the bylaws that pertain to the region, they're not my specialty. So that's why I ask you those certain questions and seek clarification. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Madam Clerk, then on the matter of item 13.
So we need to pass the motion to receive and file as information regional councillors Foster's update on November 16th, 2020 first, and then we can move on to item 13. Although I do see a hand up. Councillor Miklick, your hand is still up. Do you have any further questions? And you've put that down. And so we do have Councillor Regima.
Go ahead, Councillor Regima.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a question for the councillor. Thank you for coming again tonight, Councillor Foster. My question is regarding an item that we're having come to the Community Services and Infrastructure Committee meeting on a regular basis. Every other committee of the whole, we're going to be looking at a truck safety update based on a motion that council passed in April of 2019 that had a number of items on a number of action items on that. And so every other month, we're going to be looking at this and looking at what progress we've taken and what progress we can take and what we can expect to see in the near future and the far future. So the first item on this chart that we're going to be looking at every other month is that the town of Lincoln formally provides support and continue to advocate with the region and other municipalities regarding the north-south crossing. And progress to date in that column, it says that council is working on a regular basis. Second bullet is that the Niagara region has included funding in their budget to start an IEA study for this project, being the north-south crossing, and that terms of reference are under development and are being reviewed because of recent changes to the EA process brought forward by the province. And that the tender documents related to that, the EA process are targeted for release in 2021. I'm wondering if you've heard any updates about how far we are into those terms of reference, and if we can see that tender being released early in 2021, late in 2021, or what have you heard?
I'm not really fully prepared to talk about it this evening, Councillor Njima, but what I can tell you is that this is all part of the budget process as well. So, and you know, I know the north-south truck route is very important for us. All of us have been very clear that you know, this is one of the priorities in the longer term for our municipality, and I follow that line when I'm at Niagara Region as well. But this is a long process. You know, don't anybody think that you know, there's going to be a north-south truck route going up the Park Road area anytime soon. You know, there's a massive amount of EA work has to be done. There's just even the financing, and the province, for all intents and purposes, is not in a situation where they have been doling out money in this area yet. So anyway, long and the short of it is that long-term process, and I will make sure I get, if I hear things going on, that I get it back to you. So
Appreciate
and
it.
meaning you, like your council. So
Of course, thanks very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you very much, Councillor Njima. And Councillor Foster and I had a conversation about a week and a half ago about the advisability of joining the town capital list, where the town and the region and the town would be affected. I think that it would be a good idea. I think Councillor McPherson on a number of occasions is looking for that coordinated effort so that we know what's coming up. We also know when things are coming up a little earlier, so we can prepare our community. And I see Councillor McPherson shaking his head, so I think I'm in a good place. Mr. Krakopoulos, if you could take note of that, and Chair Njima of that committee, that would be a welcome report, especially as the budgets come together in both the region and the town.
yeah, Mary Easton, if I can just make a comment too, and just trust me, you know, whenever I'm getting into this discussion at Niagara Region, I do think of Councillor McPherson. But the thing is that, you know, we all deserve to know what's coming along here. And the thing is that, you know, there's been a few instances where construction has come into play that have caught Mary Easton and myself flat-footed, and council, you know, you guys as well. So, you know, we're putting a lot of pressure on our Niagara regional staff to be giving us better information and being transparent and open as to what's coming along with things. So, and so hopefully we're going to see some better things floating into the new year. So thank you.
All right, Councillor Njima, does that satisfy you?
Yes, looking forward to hearing more on this. I appreciate it, both of you.
Okay. All right, I don't see any other names, and I have a motion moved by Councillor Russell and seconded by Councillor McPherson to receive and file as information Regional Councillor Foster's update on November 16th, 2020. Madam Clerk, if you would call the vote.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Councillor Brunei.
Yes.
Councillor McPherson.
Yes.
Councillor Miklick.
Yes.
Councillor Pachariva.
Yes.
Councillor Reimer.
Yes.
Councillor Rajima.
Yes.
Councillor Russell.
Yes.
Councillor Timmers is marked absent. Madam Mayor.
Support.
Thank you, and that carries.
All right, we're at item number 13. Madam Clerk, if you would proceed.
Thank you. So you will be relinquishing the chair role and handing that over to Deputy Mayor Councillor Miklick.
Yes, that's correct.
And Councillor Miklick, we have a notice of motion which requires 2/3 the vote to be considered immediately upon introduction. Mayor Easton has moved that, and we do require a seconder.
Who would like to second that?
Thank you.
Councillor Russell?
Councillor Russell? And Deputy Mayor Miklick, I'll just call the vote. Thank you. Councillor
Okay.
Brunet?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor McPherson?
Yes.
Councillor Miklick?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Pachariva?
Yes.
Councillor Reimer?
Yes.
And Councillor Rajima?
Yes.
Councillor Russell?
Yes.
Councillor Timmers is marked absent. Madam Mayor?
Yes.
And thank you. That carries. And this is regarding the public health measures regarding Ontario COVID-19 response framework. Deputy Mayor Miklick?
Madam Mayor, would you like to speak to this motion?
I would, Deputy Mayor.
Okay, and then we'll open it up for discussion.
Okay, that's great.
This
And
was rather last minute, but you know,
yes,
we can shift on the fly.
well, I want to, I think I've apologized to council for this, but I know that Councillor Foster and Mr. Kirkopoulos will confirm that we've been working very hard to deal with this situation, which was quite shocking for the restaurant sector. And it started about 5 o'clock on Friday. So you will notice, and I know that the CAO sent out this document, and this is the very colorful document that outlined the new steps that we're going to be taking. So it's this one here that has all the colorful elements in it. And this was brought out initially on November the 3rd, and then it was updated again on November the 9th. And as a result of that, the revisions were as a result of discussions with the medical officers of health provincially. And they were very concerned that the thresholds in the framework were not, that they needed to be tougher. They felt that the province was being a bit loose in the way they were interpreting things. And they even said that possibly that was in deference to business interests. So the intent of the medical officers of health was to, if you will, take a preemptive strike against the growing numbers. And they were recommending that happen by, bringing down more restraint without having to close things right down. So that was the situation that existed. And then there were recommendations that were made within Dr. Hergey's jurisdiction as the medical officer of health. And they included things forbidding requiring screening patrons for symptoms of COVID-19 before entry into most public venues, such as retail stores, restaurants, nail salons, hairdressers, gyms. Forbidding removal of face coverings in personal service settings. And this means that services such as nose and mouth piercings, beard trimmings are no longer permitted. It included gyms and fitness facilities can no longer have change rooms that people must come and leave dressed for their workouts. Gyms and fitness facilities can permit someone to be in the premises only for a maximum of 90 minutes. And the two that really struck a nerve with our local restaurants, and there's approximately, I think there's 1,575 restaurants, somewhere in that area, restaurants, bars, food service areas. The new regulations for them, where restaurants, bars, and food services premises may seat no more than 4 people at a table going forward. Restaurants, bars, and food service premises must stop alcohol service at 9 p.m. and they must close completely by 10 p.m. So also there had to be hand sanitizer at every table in the restaurants. And there were some other additions around informing employees of their options should they be required to isolate. However, the thing that really struck a nerve was the fact that you could not sit at a table with anyone who was not a member of your family. So Deputy Mayor Mikulik, this speaks directly to your question. And then the phone started ringing. And there is quite understandably, a real concern that with these additional restrictions that restaurants are going to be out of business very shortly, because the intention was for this to continue on through the end of November, all through December until the 2nd of January. So there is a tremendous amount of concern. So let me just say that, and I'm going to ask Mr. Kirkopoulos to chime in here, because this is not an uncomplicated problem, but it is so serious in terms of the timing of us initiating even the smallest support, that's the reason that I believed it needed to come forward tonight. We have invested a great deal in our economic development plans forward, and I think if even a shred of it has any sincerity at all, we need to think carefully about what our next step is. So let's be clear about the role of public health. They're epidemiologists and clinicians, and they provide technically correct solutions. Okay, they provide technically correct solutions, and politicians have the final say in determining how rules and regulations will be implemented in response to the pandemic. And we are free to ignore any or all advice we receive, but we do this at our peril if we're not cautious and if we don't have the correct consultation. We have to justify what we're doing. We cannot ignore sound advice or we're going to bear the consequences. So we have the balance here of public safety and protecting the economy in a way where everyone can survive. So the motion that I brought forward is the most benign that I could think of that would allow us as a council to do our duty and to then allow further discussion at the regional table, because on Wednesday when we meet, this is going to be the Board of Health, which is all of the regional council, but this is the only matter we're going to be dealing with. And I believe that the strength of communities behind the sector will allow that discussion to go forward with the degree of seriousness that it should. And then whatever happens, whatever information that Dr. Hergy is able to bring to us, and he's been asked lots of questions, he's been providing us with some information, all of that will come out, but it will be done in the context of support from communities. I can tell you that there's 4 or 5, 4 that I know of municipalities that will be bringing motions forward tonight. That is the plan of the mayors. And so that is the reason that I believe that we need to consider this. So Mr. Deputy Mayor, if you would allow Mr. Kirkopoulos to speak, I think it would add further context and further explanation.
Certainly. Mr. Kirkopoulos, would you like to speak to the mayor's motion?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I did want to speak this evening about COVID. However, I will wait for the appropriate time to speak on more generally COVID cases and how they pertain to the town of Lincoln. But specific to the mayor's comments, I think I'll go back to what we've been saying all along, and that is that everybody needs to listen to public health guidelines so that our economy can stay open. We have supported our business community, and council has been very firm and led on that. And we've done anything we can to support them, which is why we launched things like shoplincoln.ca in the spring, which really became a tool to encourage kind of that local shopping and that local piece. I do believe we need to find balance but it's our actions that are driving the numbers locally. Section 22 orders were put in place, as everyone knows, this past Saturday. And since then, the mayor is correct, we have fielded a number of calls. We have fielded a number of emails from concerned restaurant owners, not only here in Lincoln, but I would say across Niagara. They've really banded together. And so we've been trying to work with those local businesses, clarify some of the information. There's definitely a little bit of a communication void. But again, I think, you know, my comments to council are that we really need to, I think, act in a way as if everyone that we come in contact with does have COVID. And I say that only because that message of vigilance and following public health guidelines needs to be something we continue to espouse and continue to do and adhere to. As I said earlier, I think there is a call and a need for a balanced approach. Data is important. One of the things we're hearing strongly from various stakeholders is that the need to define data, the need to share data, and to do it in a transparent manner. At the end of the day, it is up to each and every one of us to minimize that spread so that the province doesn't have to shut us down. I don't think there's a silver bullet. There's not an easy answer to this. You know, we've been impacted as a municipality, as a number of organizations have, and so I think something does need to be done. We do need to send that incredibly strong message, and I think we all feel terrible for our small mom and pop shops. I mean, the restaurant owners, as I said, have been reaching out to us since they heard of this news. First and foremost, looking for clarity in terms of what it means, but that's kind of what's happened over the last 4 or 5 days. From a town's perspective, we are working with our partners at Niagara Region Public Health and beyond that with the local area municipalities to make sure our messages are consistent and to really push the message of vigilance. But those are my comments at this particular point in time, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
So, Deputy Mayor, I believe then that we have a reasonable context for council consider. I don't know whether Councillor Foster has any comments to make at all. And then I would consider that the motion at least is introduced. Thank you.
Okay, so I do see Councillor Foster's hand is up. I'm just going to ask a procedural question as he is not actually on our council. Therefore, I'm going to check with the clerk regarding procedure as to Councillor Foster's ability to speak to council at this time. How do we move forward with that?
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Because we have technically closed off the Regional Councillor Foster update, Regional Councillor Foster by majority vote can delegate to this item. So I will just call a show of hands to ask for a majority vote by council to allow Regional Councillor Foster to speak to the item. May I have that? And I see Councillor Russell, Councillor Reimer, Councillor Rajima, Councillor Miklick, Councillor Pachariva, Councillor McPherson, Councillor Brunet, and Mayor Easton. And that passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Foster, would you like to add some comments?
Yeah, thank you, and a good show on making sure the procedures are right, Councillor Miklick. That's a good way to go. We have I'm on the procedural committee at the region. We're meeting next Monday to go through a number of items that have been bothering me from a procedure point of view at the region. So we shall see if some of these things get themselves resolved. I'm going to start by basically saying what I said earlier, and that is when it comes to these items around public health, I will always err on the side of caution. I will always err on the side of the health of our community as being number one. Part of the discussion at our last public health meeting, however, our acting medical officer of health was a little less than forthcoming on information, and I think Mayor Easton kind of alluded to that a little bit as well. We're believers that it should be open and transparent what it is that we're trying to do in these areas. As simply put, we had a discussion on Tuesday. We did not really get a sufficient update at that point in time. The next day, the changes went into play in Niagara. It kind of caught us all by surprise. So what we're going to be doing and what we're going to be demanding as we're going on is at least an understanding of the rationale as to why things are being done. So in other words, what's the criteria? Why was this particular thing chosen? Is this a particular cause of COVID in Niagara? Is this is there some strong reason why this is going into place with this? Just so that, number one, our restaurateurs and our public and our businesses all know and understand what it is and what the thinking process is that's going into play. So I think it's going to be a very lively debate on Wednesday. I'm hoping that you guys get to hash this out a little bit and just make sure that your views are coming forward with us as well, because this whole piece of the puzzle is hugely important to the town of Lincoln. So anyway, there's my soapbox. I'm going to get off of it now, and thank you very much, Councillor Michalak.
You're very welcome. So I did see some hands pop up. I'm going to ask the clerk to who's up.
We have Councillor Pachariva up next.
All right. Councillor Pachariva, go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Michalak. Thank you, Regional Councillor Foster, for your comments, and I appreciate you looking for the data behind the decision, because when acting Doctor of Medical Health Hirji was on CKTB this morning, his answers were very wishy-washy. When asked about, okay, so if a married couple lives in two separate houses with two separate addresses, would that be okay? Well, then yes. And if a table of four are meeting, well, you could say that, for the mental health, then it's okay. And that restaurateurs aren't going to be asked to look at IDs. And it's not a bylaw, so it really can't be enforced. And from an economic development perspective, and Your Worship, we saw this when we had our, and Councillor McPherson, when we had our roundtables with our businesses and our wineries and various other departments at the start of COVID, we saw the adaptation of the industry. So a lot of them have went out, have purchased, geodesic domes, have purchased, you name it, facilities to be able to, adhere to the rules of four. And then in one fell swoop, this has been changed. And I think that the head scratcher to all of this is the grocery store or the big box store. We see families traipse through there. There's only supposed to be one person from a household doing the shopping. There's not samples out to eat, so you're not bringing your kids in there for a free lunch. So that's the consternation of the restaurateurs. The playing field isn't level. And why are they being targeted? Like, show us the science, show us the data that says, okay, this is the cause of the outbreaks, and this is the cause of the spread. So, I'd be interested to actually to sit in on that discussion on Wednesday at your regional council meeting. So,
thank you very much, Councillor. So, just for clarification, when you say sit in on that meeting,
well, it's a Zoom meeting, right? I can
viewing it on YouTube. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And watch the discussion, because again, and you had asked Deputy Mayor about your daughter. The same thing. Our son he's going to be celebrating his 21st birthday next week. So, can we go out for dinner? Can we bring his girlfriend? He's already lost a junior lacrosse season. He's already lost, university intercollegiate athletics. He's lost in class, and now he can't go out with his girlfriend and us and celebrate his 21st birthday. Like, it's a head scratcher. So, what's the rationale? What's the data? Explain that, because, like I say, when Dr. Hirji was talking this morning on the radio, nothing seems firm.
I don't disagree with you, and I think we're fortunate that we're living in a country where we can have these discussions.
Mm-hmm.
Who do we have next? Is that everything, Councillor Patrick?
Yeah, I'm good, Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. We have Councillor Russell up next.
Councillor Russell.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you to Madam Mayor. Again, at the beginning of this, you mentioned that you tried to write this as benignly as possible. And after reading it and just seeing what's transpired over the last 6 months and how numbers are reviewed and action plans change from the government and from the region, I'm wondering if your point 2, where it suggests that how restrictions that like this be reviewed on a bi-weekly basis, I wonder if it would be too affront to make that on a weekly basis. Just given what's happening, and again, you read it in the Globe and Mail on a regular basis or whatever news outlet you're looking at about how much restaurants are teetering on the precipice of going bankrupt. And again, I just hope that, or I wonder if possibly waiting an extra 2 weeks, again, potentially could have some dire effects, even though it seems like a short time frame. We are kind of coming up upon a season that is usually somewhat lucrative for the restaurant business or hospitality business, that again, we may be delaying what could be just an inevitable solution, and making it reviewed on a weekly basis as opposed to bi-weekly basis. So I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that.
I would consider that a friendly amendment, Councillor. We don't know what the final outcome will be at the regional level, but I think it's fair to say that we can take whatever position we feel is in the best interest of our community, the people that operate within our sector. So I would consider that a friendly amendment.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Councillor Russell. I see a hand, if you don't mind me saying, Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and through you, I have thought about this, for the weekend, and certainly have been close to it through the BIA. I have spoken to our executive director today to get her. Get what she's hearing from the BIA community, and she's certainly hearing huge concern that entering into the winter season and entering into the Christmas, the Christmas time, and that being a very important time for the restaurants to make a good living during that festive time, but really a different time of year than what they were facing in the spring. In that during the spring, although we were shut down, there was a lot of pivoting going on, and there were ways that restaurants could open up patios and take out, and the weather was working for them, and they managed to survive for the most part. But during this if you will, darker season that's coming up, many of those things are not possible. That it's just obviously too cold here to carry on outdoor dining. And there is huge concern out there that several of those businesses will not survive. The coming 3, 4, 6 months. So, I think that it is very important for us to justify why we're going into the orange rating. And I'm sure, or I'm going to guess that we're going to hear something about preventative, versus the data that we've seen thus far. And I think we need to be ready for that. If you look at what's going on around us, if you look at the province of Ontario and go beyond the province of Ontario to Quebec or Manitoba, and you're looking at the numbers, there are certainly going to be, I think, some information coming from from public health about not wanting to enter into those numbers. So, I absolutely support the motion around providing the data that would show us, why we're headed into this very strict area as far as restaurants are concerned. And I guess I also will probably tune in to the region and listen to the discussion that happens on Wednesday, and see what the region has to say, because I would say that we've followed the region, thus far in all of the areas as far as the pandemic is concerned. And I would think that that the region is going to have a big influence on where we go from here. So, excuse me, I guess those are some of excuse me, my thoughts around it. It's absolutely a critical decision, at a very, very challenging time for this type of business, and I think we need to get it right. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Appreciate those comments. Councillor McPherson. I don't see any other hands. No. Councillor Bernay, would you like to add something? I saw your hand pop up for a second.
Yes, Councillor, or Chair Michalak, thank you very much. So I guess I would just echo a lot of the sentiments of Councillor McPherson. I think this community, our BIA, and the entire residents have really rallied around our local wineries and our restaurants, for the entire COVID, curbside pickup and taking out of meals has been something that we've rallied around to support these businesses and the restaurants. Earlier today, I spent 2.5 hours with the executive director of a retirement home, where as a family, we're trying to get our mother back in after being out since April. She's been out of the retirement home for 8 months. So we're trying to make a decision, 24 hours after the premier has changed the zone to orange. I can tell you that retirement home is struggling with all the new rules and regulations for their residents and their citizens. No different than what these businesses and restaurants are. I couldn't agree more that we need to try to be consistent. It doesn't seem fair at all that local mom and pop restaurants are having to deal with something where, a Costco and a Walmart, a big box store, seems to have, not having to deal with the same things. I guess one of my concerns when I first saw this, and I did have an opportunity to speak with the mayor on Friday. We were very well aware of this on Friday. I'm just really taken back that we received this literally an hour before the meeting. This isn't the first time this has happened with the notice of motion. I don't really think it's fair to this council to be getting a notice of motion of this magnitude an hour before a meeting. That's just my personal comment. I do believe we need to take this very seriously, but public safety and public health has to be paramount. I just wanted to end my comments, Chair Michalak, that I couldn't agree more, and it's something I did echo to the CAO earlier. this afternoon. You know, it seems like we as a council have always, since this entire pandemic, followed the region. I'm sure all of us were receiving emails from residents, the same as we're receiving emails from these restaurateurs now about people that were really struggling with mandatory masks. The migrant workers when they couldn't come to the province, and the farmers that were really left holding the bag, not being able to deal with their crops. Like, this goes across all sectors. I just really struggling why all of a sudden now this council is looking at this motion. It's something that we've always followed the queue of the region, whether it's state of declaration, mandatory masks, and I'm not really sure what this motion does. We've heard that the region is having a special meeting on Thursday. Councillor Foster has spoken to that. So I'm just struggling to understand what this is really doing, what it's saying. I think our restaurant businesses, our wineries know that we've been fully supportive of this every step of the way. Thank you, Chair McClure.
Thank you for those comments, Councillor Brunet. I agree that it was a last minute notice of motion. It was about an hour before the meeting. Myself, I was trying to log in. I finally had an opportunity to read it. I think we can all agree that in the future, moving forward, when we do wish to present a motion, maybe we should consider the sense of urgency of that motion and whether or not it should be entertained an hour before the meeting. I think in this case, however, given the circumstances, this might have been one of those times where you would use that opportunity. Mayor Easton, would you like to speak further to clarify, Councillor Brunet, your thoughts and the sense of urgency of this, the timing of it, and the real spirit of the motion that you're hoping to achieve?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and through you to Councillor Brunet. I do consider this situation to be quite urgent. And the information that was shared by the restaurants, a number of them from this area, certainly indicated that they weren't speaking to the grassroots support that they've received for the last 8 months. They were asking the question, what is your plan now? When we really need you, what is your plan? How will you interpret your role? And they made it very clear that they didn't want to hear anything from us that was that even spoke to the issue of, well, we cannot counter any arguments from the medical officer of health. There's nothing that we can do. We have to accept the rules as they come down. And in fact, if that was the case, Mr. Chairman, we wouldn't have a mask bylaw, because the mask bylaw did not come through the medical officer of health. That came by virtue of action at the local level. It did not happen at the regional level. And so in speaking with my colleague mayors as early as the middle of last week, we didn't know exactly what was coming down, but the numbers were starting to increase, and we were trying to look for solutions and how we were going to get better information. And at our discussion meeting last week, we sent Chair Bradley back to collect certain information from Dr. Hergy. It was done through the chair to the CAO to the medical officer of health. We did not have that information until late on Friday. And then all of this started to evolve until by Saturday, we were faced with it. We had a lot of information to collect. We had a lot of people to speak to. What would we do? What would we do as communities? And so I well understand that it is not fair and it's not reasonable to bring things forward, but there are times when it's necessary. And it's necessary for us as a town who has a memorandum of understanding with the city of St. Catharines to act, whereas other times maybe we wouldn't have. We have 53 wineries in this area. Many of them have restaurants or provide food of some sort. It is not the time to sit back and not speak up. And I was looking for something that would not be spectacular. I wanted to touch in the areas that the restaurateurs had said to me, if you can make a change in this one area, which is the second part of the motion that deals with the household numbers, we at least can organize the coming and going of people, the rotation of tables in a manner that if we have less tables, we can continue to hang on. And so based on that, I brought this to you this evening, and I apologize to you if it offends you. And I would not suggest that we continue in this way. And that is the only motive that I have. And I believe that other communities are making their best attempts to do the right thing as well. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. Next I see Councillor Reimer. Is that correct, Ms. Kirkland?
Yes, it is.
Okay, Councillor Reimer.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Mikulik. I don't want to go through a lot of what's said. I agree with most of what has been said. I would echo the Mayor Easton's comments that this COVID is a fluid situation, and a lot of times time isn't our friend, and we need to act on these things sooner than later, or speak to them. And so I understand the time frame that this is under. I think throughout this pandemic, in general, Lincoln residents have been understanding and basically had a general acceptance and compliance with the restrictions as they came down in spring, and especially they came back into effect now with things happening in fall with the second wave. But over the last 3-4 days, I would not have had this much conversation, business and public alike, in support of restaurants, and the word that Councillor Patrick used, targeted, might seem a little harsh, but I think it's pretty fitting here. I think that's what they think they have on their back. And I got a text in the middle of our discussion from a local Ward 4 restaurant, and I'll just read it quickly. I'll paraphrase here a little bit, and this is the restaurant owner speaking. It really puts us in an awkward spot. We have to ask, and do so, if the 4 people are members of the same household. We ask that they give an attestation of the fact. If they say yes and we knew it not to be true, we can't do anything about it. Other customers see that other tables are not the same household and then question our integrity. Feels wrong, puts our people in a tough bind. Not sure why we need to overreach to Ontario. We need the region to pull it out. So, again, I support this motion. I hope that, to speak to Councillor Brené's concerns, I hope that Councillor Foster, Mayor Easton will bring, all the things that we've spoke of here to that meeting this week, and that's why we have this kind of discussion. So I support this motion, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Fair enough. Okay, I don't see any other hands. I don't see any other discussion. I think I was at a donut shop today, or a coffee shop today, and same sort of thing. I saw frustration by, I don't know if a donut shop is classified as a restaurant or a coffee shop is classified as a restaurant. I wasn't sure if there was supposed to be hand sanitizer on the table that I was sitting at. I saw a lot of frustration by staff, by the owner. I saw frustration on the part of people in the coffee shop. And I just sat back, and I feel for those businesses. I feel these restaurants. I feel not just restaurants, but all businesses have really made extraordinary efforts in the challenges that they've been facing. And I think that everyone would agree that health and safety is of utmost importance, but also there's the health of, there's the mental health that business owners are struggling with right now, with trying to deal with all of this. And for that, I'm very appreciative of their patience, and being a decision maker at any level, it's been tough. This is the toughest challenge that I think that most of us would agree we've ever had to face. And it's really stirred up a lot of emotions at all levels. And I think it's important that we do have these discussions, and, you know, when decisions are made by superiors, experts, you know, we question, you know, or we seek clarity on reasoning behind those decisions, and consistency at all levels to come up with the best solution to get us out of this. So those are some comments that I have at a personal level. I spoke earlier to, you know, my daughter and myself and my buddies and this and that, and my bubbles, you know, like I'm trying, you know, we're trying to sort this out, trying to understand what it all means, and clarity and consistency are two key words in all of that. So, Madam Clerk, how do we proceed at this point? Do I have to read the motion before we vote on it, or can we?
So Deputy Mayor, thank you. There being no further discussion, I don't see any other hands up. So we have a motion moved by Mayor Easton, and it was seconded by Councillor Russell. And so I will have you read the motion, or I can, whichever you prefer.
I wouldn't be upset if you read it for me. Take no offense to that.
No problem. So I'll begin. Whereas recently there have been decisions made by the province and Niagara Public Health that saw Niagara move into the orange restrict level as per the Ontario COVID-19 response framework. And whereas we are supportive of public health measures to keep our community safe and recognize that there are members of our business community that are calling for greater transparency in how these decisions are made and the data that is being used to support these decisions. And whereas we must strike a balanced approach to combating COVID-19 while ensuring our local economy remains open, with appropriate restrictions put in place to protect our community and especially our most vulnerable citizens. And whereas small business is a large economic driver of our community, employing our friends and neighbors, and has already seen a significant reduction in business since the start of the pandemic. Therefore, be it resolved that item 1, Niagara Region Public Health prepare a full report to all regional elected officials, and that be shared with the local area municipalities, including in that report as much data as possible on the decision-making process. And item number 2, that the focus of restrictions either under the Section 22 order or otherwise review the dining out to household only restrictions, and that this be reviewed on a bi-weekly basis. I believe a friendly amendment was made to show on a weekly basis instead of a bi-weekly. And so, Deputy Mayor, I will call the vote if that's fine with you.
Excuse me, Madam Clerk, I did see a hand pop up just as you were finishing the reading of the motion from Councillor Rinjema. Councillor Rinjema, did you have a comment to the motion, or would you like to speak to it before we?
A comment. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I didn't speak before, and just reflecting back on everything that was said tonight, I also questioned why this came forward at the last minute, but having listened to all the discussion, I think we all recognize the impact of what these restrictions will have on restaurants. And I think it was Councillor Brunet that was saying as we go into the winter, we're going to see the impact's going to be quite different than it was in the spring and the summer. And I do think this is, I think it was you, Mr. Chair, who was saying that this is really new for all of us. We're sort of working our way through it as we go. So far, we have been deferring to the recommendations from public health, but I agree that it's time that we start really asking questions at our level and asking for more detail come down to our level for our consideration on behalf of those in our municipality and our small business owners. So just a comment, I do support and thank you for bringing this forward.
Thank you very much. So Deputy Mayor, I'm going to ask you, are you comfortable with amending the bi-weekly basis to weekly?
Yes, I already indicated to the mover, Deputy Mayor.
Okay, so Madam Clerk, we're going to rewrite that as weekly?
Yes, I've made mention of that already.
Okay.
Yep.
Moving along.
Thank you. So I will finish with the motion, Deputy Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you. And it was moved by Mayor Easton and seconded by Councillor Russell. And I'll call the vote. Councillor Brunet,
Yes.
Councillor McPherson,
Yes.
Councillor Miklick,
Yes.
Councillor Pachariva,
Yes.
Councillor Reimer,
Yes.
Councillor Rajima,
Yes.
Councillor Russell,
Yes.
Councillor Timmers is marked absent, Madam Mayor.
Yes, support.
And that notice of motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. My thinking is I'm going to relinquish the chair back to the mayor to continue the meeting.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you very much, Councillor. And I appreciate that we have taken a significant leadership role in the discussion that's going to take this place later this week. Madam Clerk, I'm going to ask all members of council if they would like to take a break at this time.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, it's 8:13, so 8:20 we come back.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. We'll adjourn.